lecture, I'm just going to briefly walk you through finding an article and using MLA style to write your reference. So you could start with just a Google search and come up with many sources that are quality sources. So I'm going to look up smartphone addiction articles. And when you add the word articles onto your topic, Google will automatically link you to Google Scholar articles. And you can click in here and find a bunch of different sources that you could use. And these are all scholarly articles on this topic of smartphone addiction. And if you may or may not be able to access the full article here when you click on them, and that is why if you can't get in, you'd have to find this source through your university library database. So it's always best to find it not just through a Google search, but to go through the university website. You could go to other, there's, various websites, global news, help guides, psychology websites, that kind of thing. These would all be fine to use as well, but they're not scholarly articles. So you just want to make sure that the website, if it's a government website, it's the information on there is pretty reliable. But if it's just a blog post, you just want to be careful that the information is coming from a reputable source. If you're not sure if the source you're using is a reputable source, just make sure you can check with me if you're not sure. But usually if it's a government organization, if it's a reputable news source, then that's good. And again, you could always pick the scholarly articles, and then it's been put through a process of peer review. So yeah, once you find one of the articles that piques your interest, you can download it. So I've just opened up the downloaded article that I found, and it's a PDF version. So the information on here, just walk you through that, and your article might look different. They're all sort of formatted in different ways. I downloaded this one, and then other ones, they look different just in terms of what information is there, and how it's laid out on the page. But you can usually track down all the important things that you need to write your MLA reference from the first page. So you need to find where the authors' names are and their first and last name. So this one's pretty easy. Tatiana Panova and Xavier Carbonell. So we have two authors in this one, and their first name and last name. And then other information here. So we have received date, revised manuscript date, second revised manuscript date, accepted date, and then published online date up in the corner here. So we want the publication date. That's the one that we are looking for. Other information. So we have the title of the article is here in bold. Is smartphone addiction really an addiction? We also have the title of the journal. So Journal of Behavioral Addictions is the name of the journal that this, or the container in which this single essay is found. These numbers beside, so 7 and 2, the first number is the volume, and the second number is the issue. So you have to be able to identify volume and issue number. And then you have a page range, so you want the full page range information there as well. And then this one has a DOI, so that information we'll also need as well to include in our citation. So let's write a citation for this one, and I'll just show you how to do that. So here's an example, and I always use an example, like not a template exactly, but I follow an online example, so I make sure that I am doing it correctly and following, just to make it easier on myself, that I don't have to memorize the order or anything like that. Okay, so I'll just start mine underneath here. So if we want the author's last name and then comma their first name. So we have 2 authors. So I'll just cut and paste here. Okay, so I will want to make sure that their names are correct. So I'm starting with the last name first. So her last name is Panova, and then Tayana is her first name. And then our next person is Xavier, and his name is not reversed. Okay, and then we need the article title. So is smartphone addiction really an addiction? So I'm putting that information in quotation marks. And in MLA style, you capitalize any major word in the title. So I've capitalized the first letter of is, capitalized the first letter of smartphone, capitalized the first letter of addiction, the word really, and then I've left the minor word an without a capital. So words like an, and the, you don't need to capitalize. So you do change the capitalization. This one is not in capitals, but in your MLA style reference, you do want to capitalize it. And you place the title of the article in quotation marks, and there should be a period there. So we did that. And then we have to have the journal's name. In this case, we're Journal of Behavioral Addictions. So we'll just add that. Behavioral. Okay, so just want to make sure I'm spelling it right. It's not the Canadian spelling. Okay, so we put that in, and then if the journal is the container, so you'll notice when you're looking at references for MLA style, they refer to a container source, and that's usually the larger container is the source wherein you found your article or your essay. So it could be the name of a website, it could be the name of a textbook, it could be the name of an anthology of short stories or a larger work, which you're looking at just one chapter of. In this case, we're looking at the journal, which has multiple essays in it. We're just picking this one essay and reading it, so that's all we need there. Then we need volume. So there's actually a comma here, not a period. And we're volume 7, I believe. Yes, 7, and issue number 2. And then our year is the year of publication, so 2018. And page range, 252 to 259. Okay, and then if I found this through a database on through the university website, I would add that information. But I didn't use one for this one. And I'm also going to include here the DOI. So I'm just going to format this correctly with my DOI information. And then I also include, date accessed. So I'll just put accessed 01 January, no, 11 Jan 2021. Okay, and then once you've done that, you need to make sure that it's a hanging indent. So you need to, this is the only way that I've learned how to do it, but I'm sure there's other more technically advanced ways. But I click on the first line at the very end, and then I push the tab button, and then it bounces the next line over. And then I click on the end of this line and then push the tab line again, and it turns this into what's called a hanging indent. So my next source, I would also make this all double spaced in my works cited page. So that's what it would look like. And then my next source would be directly underneath of this one. So yeah, that's basically all you need to do for a works cited page or for your MLA citation. If you're unsure, I always go to, go to the start here. My favorite website for anything to do with citations is the OWL Purdue Online Writing Lab. It's called, I usually just Google the OWL. It's called the OWL. But it has a lot of, information about MLA. And because we're often using electronic sources these days, we use websites, we use online articles, that information, it's best to sort of look specifically at electronic source references as your guidelines, and this site is really good for that kind of information. So yeah, so I would scroll through here and find the one that's best applicable for something that you found. So in this case, we're looking at an article in an online scholarly journal. Yeah, and so basically we're following this kind of pattern or model. So we have the author's name, last name, and then first name, the title of the article, and we're capitalizing all major words, leaving any small words, usually 3 letters and under, not capitalized. And then we include the journal article or the journal title in italics. We're including volume number, issue number, the year of publication, the URL or DOI, we can put that in there too, and then the date we accessed the article. And this should be double spaced within your, if you include it in your reference page. If you're using an online database, so like if you went through the university website and used an online database like JSTOR, ProQuest, Science Direct, then you would include that information as well. So here's an example of that. So here we have last name, first name, the title of the article, the journal article or the journal's name, italicized, volume, issue number. Oh, I think I didn't put number in mine. I should really correct that. Okay, so we'll fix that one. And the year, the page range, and then here they've added the database name, the DOI, and then the date accessed. So it's always best to look at an example and make sure you catch all of these small errors that, you know, all of us make. And, you know, even little things like period placement, comma placement, capitalization, all these little things can be, you know, errors in your reference. So you just want to make sure that you're doing it as correctly as possible. So yeah, I just like to double check sometimes to make sure that I'm doing it right by using an online example. Yeah, so that's basically it. It takes some practice. If your source has, you know, 3 authors, you can use the et al. Abbreviation. So just what that would look like here. It would be sort of like that. You'd have to change again your tabbing to make sure it's still a hanging indent. But that information, or if you had, you know, 3 authors, then you could abbreviate it that way. And you're looking at the author's last name, and then you're going to list all of your sources in alphabetical order. So if you were going to create a works cited page for your essay, oops, let's take this away. Okay, so if you're going to create a works cited page for your essay, it's the final page of your essay. You will include the title, works cited, and then you're going to list all of your articles that you've read, or your books, or whatever sources you're using, websites, everything that you used within the essay, and list them all in your works cited page. And these are in alphabetical order, so if the person's last name starts with a B, you'll go all the A's, all the B's, C's, D's, etc. in that order. So this is, again, MLA style. In this case, we have a website, so the title of the article found on a website, the name of the website. In this case, they are the publishers are included, and the date published, as well as the URL for the website. And if there's no author, you use the title of the article that you found. So that would be listed instead of an author's name. But all the information other than that is available there. And you're just going in alphabetical order in terms of how you list them, and everything is double spaced. So yeah, that's basically what your works cited will look like. And if you need examples, again, go back to that Purdue OWL website, and I'll put a link to that on the course homepage. And that's the best reference that I've found online that gives the up-to-date information on how to properly do MLA style.